Financial stress is a poison in a marriage. It seeps into every conversation, every decision, every shared silence. For the last year, my husband, Adam, and I had been drowning in it. It wasn't just tight. We were genuinely struggling. We both worked hard. I was a full-time nurse, often pulling double shifts, and Adam was a talented but currently underemployed graphic designer. The big problem was the house. We bought our first home 3 years ago, just before the market skyrocketed. We overextended ourselves, and when Adam's main client went bankrupt, our mortgage payments became a crippling weight. We cut everything: subscriptions, nights out, even fresh groceries sometimes. Adam would constantly remind me, "We have to be responsible, Chloe. Every penny counts. We can't afford a single luxury." His vigilance was admirable, if not exhausting. He managed all the bills, meticulously tracking every outgoing cent in a detailed budgeting app he never let me look at. He was the responsible one, the one who said no to the small pleasures we desperately needed. The real crisis hit in January. Our ancient furnace died. The repair estimate was $4,000, a number that felt like a death sentence. It was freezing, and we had no liquid cash. "Adam, we have to borrow it. We can ask your parents or take out a small personal loan," I pleaded, shivering under 3 blankets. Adam, surprisingly, was adamantly against it. "No, Chloe. Loans are a trap. My mother is too judgmental. We will manage. I will find a quick side design gig, I promise. We will be cold for 2 weeks, and we will survive. Responsibility first." His refusal felt cruel. I was working myself to exhaustion, and he was choosing to let us freeze rather than ask for help or touch the small emergency savings we did have, about $1,500 that Adam kept locked away. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I couldn't be cold anymore. I contacted my best friend, Sarah, who was a bank manager. She agreed to discreetly process a small emergency loan for me, secured against my half of the house equity. I just needed one piece of information for the application: a recent account statement from our joint savings. Adam's desk was meticulously organized. I knew he kept all the financial papers in a locked bottom drawer. I found his spare key, my heart pounding with guilt, not over taking the loan, but over violating his trust. But he was forcing my hand. I opened the drawer. Inside, the usual stack of statements, tax forms, and a pristine folder labeled "Joint Savings Do Not Open." I pulled out the statement I needed. The joint savings showed the required $1,500 balance. Relief washed over me. I quickly took a photo of the statement, but as I was closing the folder, a small loose receipt fluttered out. It was a receipt for a massive wire transfer from an account I didn't recognize. The amount was huge, $10,000. The transaction was dated just 2 months prior. The sender was listed as ADAMS.personal. The recipient was an entity called Luna Crafts and Events. $10,000, 2 months ago, when he was denying us $4,000 for a heater, and the account was marked Adam S. Personal, an account he swore he didn't use anymore, claiming he had consolidated everything into our joint savings. My hands began to shake violently. $10,000. Where did he get that money? And who was Luna Crafts and Events? I frantically typed the business name into my phone's search engine. The results brought up a stylish, new artisanal boutique specializing in custom paper goods and event planning. It had opened 6 months ago and was getting rave reviews. Then I saw the founder's photo. My blood ran cold. The founder, smiling confidently next to a large display of her products, was Luna Hayes. Luna Hayes, Adam's ex-girlfriend from college. The woman he was constantly talking about right before we started dating. The one he claimed he barely remembered, but whose social media he always seemed to know about. The woman he had abruptly broken up with just before we met, claiming she was too financially unstable for his sensible life plan. My mind raced. Adam had secretly wired $10,000, money we desperately needed for basic survival, to his financially unstable ex-girlfriend's new business. And he had done it from a secret personal account. The betrayal was immediate and searing. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the lie. He was managing every cent of our joint life, making me feel guilty for wanting a functioning heater, while funneling thousands of dollars into his ex-girlfriend's venture. I shoved the receipt back into the folder, the weight of the paper suddenly feeling like the weight of a monumental lie. I locked the drawer, the quiet click of the lock signaling the moment my marriage had moved from partnership to hostile espionage. I didn't take the loan that day. I had a much bigger problem than a broken furnace. I had a broken husband. The next few days, I lived a double life. By day, I was the exhausted nurse and cold wife, complaining about the house temperature. By night, I was a detective, fueled by cold fury. I couldn't confront Adam yet. I needed definitive proof, not just of the $10,000 transfer, but of the depth of his financial treason. The first step was locating the ADAMS.personal account. I used the tiny, illegible routing number on the wire transfer receipt to narrow down the bank. It was a local credit union where Adam had opened an account years ago, before we were married, and which he swore he had closed. I created an elaborate ruse. I told Adam I needed to go back to the hospital for an urgent, administrative matter on my day off. Instead, I drove to the credit union. I waited until I was seen by a teller who didn't know me. I had meticulously rehearsed my story. "Hi, I'm Chloe Sterling. I need to deposit this check into my husband, Adam Sterling's personal account. He was supposed to close it, but his company insisted on sending his final commission to this old account." I slipped a small, generic check from an old account of mine across the counter. The teller, after verifying Adam's identity with the driver's license I casually provided, confirmed the account number. And yes, it was very much open. The balance was low, only a few $100s. But the teller's screen confirmed my worst fear. There was a history of large outgoing transfers. I politely asked for the last 6 months of statements, citing tax auditing purposes for the commission check. The teller, seeing my wedding ring and my calm demeanor, printed the statements without hesitation. I drove to a remote parking lot and tore through the papers. The $10,000 payment to Luna Crafts and Events was there, dated 2 months ago, labeled Business Investment Loan. But the $10,000 wasn't the only payment. The statements showed a disturbing pattern dating back 6 months, coinciding exactly with the time Adam's client went bankrupt and our financial troubles began. Every month, a consistent transfer of $2,500 went to Luna's business, labeled Consulting Services, Graphic Design. $2,500 a month for 6 months. That's $15,000, plus the initial $10,000 loan. Adam had secretly funneled $25,000 into his ex-girlfriend's failing business, money he had extracted from our shared life, leaving us without heat and facing potential foreclosure. But where was the money coming from? He wasn't working. The income side of the statement revealed a series of cash deposits labeled Freelance Design Income, Project X. They were large, regular cash injections, sometimes up to $5,000 at a time. This was the side gig income he had been claiming wasn't enough to fix the heater. He was lying about his income, secretly keeping it out of our joint account and using it to fund Luna. I suddenly realized the extent of his manipulation. He controlled the budget, making me feel guilty and forcing me into financial hardship, all to create a surplus he could siphon off to Luna. He made me freeze so she could thrive. The emotional betrayal was just as profound. I knew Luna's business struggled in the beginning. Adam, the man who preached financial stability, was investing his time, emotional energy, and a massive amount of cash to save the business of the woman he claimed was too unstable for him. I needed one final piece of evidence to complete the picture. I drove to Luna Crafts and Events. The boutique was stunning, chic, high-end, and clearly successful. I walked in, pretending to browse for party invitations. Luna was there, vibrant and smiling, a complete contrast to my own tired, stressed appearance. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Luna asked warmly. "I'm looking for some custom design work," I said, my voice unnaturally calm. I actually had a recommendation from a friend. She said your graphic designer is fantastic. Adam Sterling, right? Luna's smile faltered just for a second. A flash of guilt and recognition crossed her eyes. "Oh, yes, Adam is brilliant. He consults for me. He's the reason the brand is so sharp. He's been an incredible partner in getting this off the ground." Partner, not just a consultant. "He does your books too, right? My friend mentioned he was handling your major financial decisions," I pressed, watching her carefully. Luna laughed, a slightly nervous, too loud sound. "Well, he certainly helped with the initial capital. He's a great investor and a great friend. A great friend who had received $25,000 of my marital money." As I was leaving, I casually picked up a beautiful, custom-designed business card. The fine print on the back solidified the final layer of the lie. It didn't just list Luna's phone number. It listed an alternative contact for all press and financial inquiries, an encrypted private email address. I recognized the format. It was the same one Adam used for his top-secret, high-paying freelance clients that he swore were just small, one-off jobs. The email address belonged to him. Adam wasn't Luna's consultant or investor. He was her unpaid co-founder and full-time CFO, hiding his true role and income, using my marital suffering as a cover for his secret loyalty to his ex-girlfriend. I drove home. I had the statements, the receipts, and the confession from Luna's own mouth. The betrayal was complete. I knew exactly what I had to do next. The confrontation wouldn't be a fight. It would be a professional demolition. I spent the next 48 hours compiling the evidence. The credit union statements, the wire transfer receipt, the bank transaction records showing his freelance design income, and Luna's business card with Adam's private email address. I printed every single document and organized them into a neat, damning folder. I didn't immediately confront him. I waited until I pulled a grueling 16-hour shift at the hospital, ensuring I was exhausted enough to be cold and clinical, not emotional. I needed to handle this like a professional intervention, not a wife's breakdown. I came home late that night. The house was still freezing. Adam was sitting at the kitchen table bundled in a thick sweater, pretending to review blueprints on his laptop. "Welcome home," he said, looking up, his expression a practiced mix of concern and exhaustion. "I found a temporary space heater for the bedroom, but it's only 500 watts. We have to be careful with the electric bill." That sentence, his continued manipulation about the electric bill while he was funding a six-figure business, snapped the last thread of my patience. I walked past him, opened the locked desk drawer, and retrieved the folder of evidence. I came back and placed it squarely on the dinner table, right next to his laptop. "I'm not cold anymore, Adam," I said, my voice dangerously flat. "I'm on fire. And you're going to fix the furnace tonight, with the $25,000 you've been secretly funneling to Luna Hayes." Adam froze. He didn't look up, but I saw his shoulders stiffen. He didn't ask, "What money?" or "What are you talking about?" He went straight to denial of the source. "Chloe, what is this?" "I told you, I've been doing extra freelance work. That money is for my personal projects, for my future investments. You know we have a budget, and I can't be irresponsible with every little bit of cash I make." I slid the credit union statements across the table. "Stop lying. This is a personal account you swore you closed. And this is a $10,000 transfer to Luna Crafts and Events 2 months ago, labeled Business Investment Loan. The same 2 months you let us freeze, claiming we couldn't afford a $4,000 heater." He finally looked up, his face pale, but his eyes were immediately defensive. "Fine. It was a loan. She was desperate, Chloe. I felt bad. We were friends in college. I was being charitable. I was trying to help her get back on her feet so she wouldn't be a failure." "Charitable? You denied your own wife a functioning home. You let me work myself sick to cover our mortgage, but you invested your money into your ex-girlfriend's boutique? That's not charity, Adam. That's financial treason." I slid the second set of statements across, detailing the 6 months of $2,500 transfers. "And this? $2,500 a month for consulting services? She told me you were her partner who handled the major financial decisions. She also gave me a business card where the contact for all press and financial inquiries is your personal encrypted email address. You are not her consultant, Adam. You are her co-founder, hiding your income and using our financial distress as a cover for your devotion to your ex-girlfriend." The defense crumbled into anger. He slammed his hand on the table. "It was my money, Chloe. I earned it. I did all those side projects. She needed the expertise and she needed the capital. She is brilliant and she was going to fail. I couldn't let that happen. You wouldn't understand. All you care about is the heater and the mortgage. Luna had a vision." His outburst was the shocking, naked truth. He didn't value our shared life or my well-being. He valued Luna's vision and his role as her secret savior. His loyalty was never to me. "You are absolutely right," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "I don't understand vision when I'm freezing. But I understand breach of fiduciary duty and marital fraud. You have knowingly taken community assets. Your income is our income, and funneled them into a third-party business for 6 months while creating a false financial crisis at home. That's a textbook case for divorce court." He looked utterly defeated, realizing the legal gravity of the documents scattered across the table. "Chloe, no, don't be dramatic. It's just money. I can get it back. I can sell my shares. I'll cut off Luna. We can fix this. We can get the heater fixed tomorrow. I'm sorry," he pleaded, his anger immediately melting into panic. "It's too late for apologies. You didn't just breach my trust. You actively created a scenario where I was suffering while you were playing CEO to your ex-girlfriend's business. That is betrayal." I stood up, pulling a small pre-packed bag from behind the sofa. "I am leaving tonight. You have 48 hours to do two things. First, transfer the $25,000 back into our joint savings account. I want an electronic receipt in my email by Sunday evening. Second, I want you to call Luna Hayes and end all financial and professional ties with her. I don't care what excuse you use." "Where are you going?" he whispered, horrified. "To Sarah's. And I'm seeing a lawyer first thing Monday morning. If you don't return the money, I will use these documents to file for a contested divorce, and I will subpoena Luna Hayes as a co-conspirator in the liquidation of our marital assets. You will lose the house, and you will lose your career." I walked toward the door, turning back for one final devastating blow. I found the credit union statement's Adam. Not the $10,000 receipt. The receipt was the only thing you left in the joint savings folder. That receipt was a single careless mistake that exposed the entire elaborate, financial double life you built with your ex-girlfriend. I left him sitting there, surrounded by the cold, hard proof of his betrayal, finally realizing that the perfect, controlled budget he maintained was nothing but a front for the woman he truly prioritized. I spent the next 2 days at Sarah's house, feeling the profound, freezing cold of betrayal more keenly than the lack of heat in my own home. Adam sent a flurry of frantic text messages, apologies, promises, and legal threats, but I ignored them all. I waited for the money transfer. On Sunday evening, precisely 1 hour before my deadline, my phone buzzed with an email. It was the transfer receipt, $25,000 back into our joint account. He had complied. The fear of financial ruin and legal exposure had broken him. I thought the drama was over, relegated to a messy divorce. I was wrong. The phone rang immediately after the email arrived. It wasn't Adam, it was Luna Hayes. "Chloe? It's Luna Hayes. You need to listen to me. I know you're divorcing Adam, and I know why. He just called me, screaming, saying he's cutting all ties and that you found the papers." "The papers detail the $25,000 of marital assets you received, Luna," I replied, my voice hard. "You are an accomplice to financial fraud, whether you knew it or not. I don't want to talk to you." "Wait! You have to hear me out. That money, it was never just a loan or a consultancy fee. It was hush money. He wasn't paying me to save my business, Chloe. He was paying me to keep my mouth shut about your business." I paused. "What are you talking about, Luna?" "I have no business secrets with you." "Yes, you do. This whole thing is twisted. Adam didn't love my vision. He was terrified of my memory. I'm the one who insisted on those monthly consulting fees as a retainer. He was paying me to hide the truth about your job. I was completely confused. My job? I'm a nurse. What could you possibly know about my job?" Luna took a shaky breath. "6 months ago, Adam came to me, hysterical. He needed the $10,000 immediately. He confessed that your financial situation was dire, not just the mortgage. He was terrified that you would find out the truth about why he was only working freelance. Why? Because, Chloe, Adam didn't lose his main client a year ago. He was fired shortly after your wedding. He's been unemployed for almost 2 years. The underemployed graphic designer was a complete fabrication. He's been hiding the fact that he has no income. The freelance design income he was depositing into the secret account? That money wasn't from design projects. My mind raced back to the account statements, the regular large cash deposits labeled Freelance Design Income, Project X. If it wasn't design income, what was it, Luna? I demanded, my voice a panicked whisper. It was from you, Chloe. He confessed to me that he secretly took out a massive line of credit against your life insurance policy, the one your parents set up for you. He was borrowing against that policy every month, then depositing it into his secret account, and then using the excess to pay me off. He was afraid you'd expose him as a failure, so he framed it as my business venture. My parents had set up a significant life insurance policy years ago. I was the sole beneficiary, and only I could touch the equity. That's impossible, Luna. I would have to sign for that line of credit. I never signed any papers. He forged your signature, Chloe, Luna confessed, her voice thick with panic. He said he found a way to digitize your signature from some old forms. He had to do it to keep you from finding out he was unemployed. I was only supposed to be his alibi. He needed a plausible reason to explain why he suddenly had $2,500 a month to invest and why he was so obsessed with the budget. The final devastating layer of betrayal was exposed. Adam's entire life was a lie built on forgery. He wasn't just prioritizing his ex-girlfriend's business. He was using her as a shield to hide his unemployment and his active crime of stealing from my life insurance equity. I hung up, reeling. I didn't just have evidence of financial fraud. I had evidence of identity fraud and theft of my future security. The $25,000 was the cost of his ex-girlfriend's silence. The real debt was the hundreds of thousands of dollars he had secretly borrowed against my life insurance. I immediately called my parents. I asked them to contact their insurance agent and freeze the policy, checking for any recent lines of credit. An hour later, my father called me back, his voice tight with shock and fury. Chloe, the agent confirmed it. A line of credit was taken out 9 months ago, just after Adam lost his client. The signature is digital, but it's clearly not yours. They've frozen the policy, but the line of credit has been almost entirely drawn down. Over $150,000 is gone. $150,000. Not to fix the heater, not for a new life with Luna, but to maintain the illusion of his employed, responsible life. He'd been stealing from my future, month by month, using Luna as the convenient scapegoat. The $25,000 he returned was a drop in the bucket compared to the $150,000 debt he had secretly incurred in my name. I didn't call Adam. I drove straight to the police station. I didn't file for divorce. I filed a police report for identity theft and financial fraud, handing over the credit union statements, the wire transfer receipt, and the shocking confession about the life insurance policy. I looked at the documents, finally understanding the true cost of the cold. The broken heater was the least of my problems. I was married to a cold, calculated thief who stole my future to protect his fragile ego. I walked out of the police station with a hollow sense of finality. I hadn't filed divorce papers. I had filed criminal charges against my husband. The legal documents detailed over $150,000 in identity theft against my life insurance policy, compounding the financial fraud involving the $25,000 in marital assets. I drove to Sarah's, waiting for the inevitable. It didn't take long. The police arrested Adam at our home later that evening. They found him sitting in the cold living room, still bundled in a thick sweater, staring at the empty space on the wall where the thermostat should have been. The irony was devastating. He was finally experiencing the genuine, paralyzing cold he had forced me to endure for months. He called me from the precinct, his voice a panicked, desperate echo. "Chloe, please." "You don't understand. I didn't steal it for Luna. I stole it to pay the mortgage, to keep us from losing the house. I was afraid you'd leave me if you found out I was unemployed. I did it for us." "You didn't do it for us, Adam," I replied, my voice steady and cold. "You stole $150,000 in my name, money meant for my future, to protect your fragile ego. You lied, you stole, and you committed identity fraud. You denied me a heater to create a surplus, then funneled the excess to your ex-girlfriend to buy her silence about your real crime, unemployment. That is not love. That is calculated financial abuse." I delivered my own final confession. The broken heater was a gift, Adam. It forced me to look at the books, and it exposed your entire criminal life. You will be facing prison time for identity theft. That is the debt you truly owe. I hung up and never spoke to him again. The aftermath was long and brutal. The divorce proceedings were swift, uncontested, and completely in my favor, thanks to the overwhelming criminal evidence. The judge, recognizing the extreme financial duress and fraud, granted me the house and ordered Adam to repay the full $150,000 he stole from my life insurance policy as restitution. The repayment plan was strict, mirroring the terms he himself had imposed on our budget. The most painful consequence was the exposure of the truth to his family. Adam's parents, who had always viewed him as the stable, responsible son, were devastated. They had believed his elaborate lies about his high-paying freelance work and my unnecessary spending. When the full story of his 2-year unemployment and the $150,000 theft came out, they offered me a tearful apology, admitting they should have questioned his stringent budgeting sooner. Luna Hayes, surprisingly, also faced a public reckoning. While she avoided criminal charges by testifying that she believed Adam was legitimately investing and was unaware of the fraud against me, the public scrutiny and the association with the crime destroyed Luna Crafts and Events. She closed her boutique within a month. Her dream, the one Adam had sacrificed our life for, was over. As for me, I eventually got the house fixed. The $4,000 repair bill was paid within a week. I sold the house a few months later. The thought of living in the space where I had been systematically betrayed, where a $4,000 heater repair was denied while $150,000 was stolen, was unbearable. I took the equity and moved into a new, smaller, warmer apartment, closer to the hospital. I went back to school specializing in forensic nursing, using my grim expertise in unmasking deceit. My life was finally my own, built on honesty and hard-won financial independence. The irony of the entire situation remains the most bitter pill to swallow. Adam was willing to commit a felony, steal from my future, and endure the humiliation of being cold, all to avoid the temporary, manageable shame of admitting he was unemployed. He destroyed his freedom, his marriage, and his life, just to protect a fragile male pride. The cold truth was that I had married a man who had been secretly funding his ex-girlfriend's business to conceal the fact that he was actually funding his own perfect, terrible lie. And the cost of that deception was the total, irreversible ruin of his life.